Chapter 9. Why?
I've thought about this conversation since the day we had to go, but now I don't know what to say, his father said. Well, Tanar, Taylor snapped out, how about you start with why you faked your death to your 13-year-old son? Taylor asked, anger starting to build in him. You're right. I am Tanar. He paused, smiling at his son's intuition. Taylor had always been quick, but now that he had made his conversion, his mind seemed even more fine-tuned. Tanar was proud of his son, and wished he could reach out to him. You may have every right to be angry at us. However, you will have to let me finish to know the whole story, his father said in a calm voice. Still Taylor's father, and he could still take over control of the conversation at any moment. Taylor almost burst out, but held it in check. Trisha grabbed his hand, trying to offer comfort and support. Taylor's eyes flipped from his father to his mother, still trying to grasp what he was seeing. His world spinning hopelessly out of control. The only comfort he felt came from Trisha. We did not choose what happened. It was the least bad of many horrible choices, Taylor's father started to explain. Let me tell you the whole story. I've been alive for a long time, but when I met your mother it was instant. She was a human, and her smile won my heart like no woman had ever over me. I was on a ski trip in Utah when I met her. We went up the lift together, and by the top of the ride I knew I would never be the same. He grabbed her hand and smiled at her. We courted and fell in love. She quickly became the only thing I cared about, and luckily she returned my love. When she became pregnant, we were all surprised. It had never happened before. There has never been a vampire that was able to conceive a child. We have never figured out why, but you were, and are, my greatest achievement. She was human, all through the pregnancy and your birth, and I a vampire. After you were born, I told her the truth, and she decided to convert. We decided to let you make your choice in your own time, Tanar explained. So you left? Taylor barked out. Taylor, hear them out, Trisha said, placing a calming hand on his knee. Taylor's eyes burned with tears, but he nodded. No, your birth caused some stir. In fact, quite a bit of stir. All the vampire community was alight with rumors about you. Renard got word of it, and began to hunt. He was relentless, wanting to know who you were and what you were capable of. His father looked him in the eyes. You are the first of your kind. No one knows what you're capable of. Everyone in our world was anxious to run tests on you, to understand how you came about. Your mother and I did not want you to have that kind of life, so we left to Utah. Renard had created a great search for you, but Utah was so far away from the community it was safe. Utah was a refuge for us. We thought we had found a spot where we'd never be found. You also have been watched and protected all your life, his father said. Taylor looked up confused and then caught Theraint's eye. Theraint has been in your life a good deal longer than you realize. To be accurate, all of it. He came to Utah with us shortly after you were born. Taylor cut him off. After I was born, Taylor said aghast. Yes, Taylor. You were born in the Netherlands, in a house we have here. Of course, you know why we could not tell you where you came from. Taylor sat in shock. His father nodded to him, as if to ask if he should continue, and Taylor nodded affirmative. Teraint has protected you since birth, and one day you and Scott were hiking Pencil Point. Teraint took down 2 vampires trying to take you. That same day, I also saw my brother in Utah. It was clear we had to leave. We had 2 options. One, take you with us and try to explain vampirism to a 13-year-old, or leave you behind, safe and hidden, while we threw the trail completely off you by dying, his father sighed. I know it was harsh, and it pained us to do it, but we were never far away from you. Although I did spend some time here, your mother lived in Utah full-time watching over you. The house in the mountains is more hers than Theraint's. She broke in. Taylor, we love you, and it hurt us horribly to do this. I hope one day you can understand. Taylor shook his head. Understand? You left me. I thought you were dead. I don't know what to think, Taylor replied. Let us know what you need, Taylor. I understand it's a shock, his mother said. Taylor stood up and strode around the room. There was a wall of screen windows as in Theraint's house. Theraint looked out the windows into the Salt Lake Valley. Taylor's world had now been completely blown apart. How could you go? Taylor asked. We had no choice, Tanar replied. Yes, you did. You could have taken me with you. I always knew I was different, as far back as I can remember. I never knew what to think of it. If you would have taken me, at least I would have known what I was. Am, Taylor said. He stopped and let it sink in. At least then I would have known the reason, and not been alone, Taylor snapped angrily. Taylor, yes. But how would you have been with it if we revealed to you what you were? What would you have done? His mother asked. Not left me alone, for one. Taylor spat back. The rage in his voice was deeper than any of them had ever heard before. Everything had changed. His life ripped apart and re-stitched together. The tears hovered in his eyes. Taylor, you would have had a hard time accepting it. That is positive. You had the right to live as a human, and make your own decision whether you wanted to be converted or not. If you would have known, you would have converted just to be close to us. And Renard is no small threat. I know it is not something that is easy to accept, but we did it in your best interest. It was the best option we had, and we made the decision to take it. His father said. We are so proud of what you have accomplished. You've handled yourself so well over the years. But your father is right. You would have not been the person that you are if we would have brought you with us, his mother said, tears rolling down her face as well. I don't know what to think, Taylor said and collapsed into the couch next to Trisha. You have time, son. You need to stay here for a while. Let the heat go off the whole California battle, his father said. What? Taylor asked. I'm not staying here. I want you to come with me to L.A. to help our friends fight, Taylor replied. No, Taylor. We are a peaceful society. We'll not go to war, his father replied matter of fact. Are you crazy? This war has been brewing for as long as you two have been around, Taylor said aghast. I have been around for a long time, and the one thing I know is that wars solve nothing, his father said. This war will decide whether we can live any more. Are you just going to lay down and let Renard take over? Taylor replied. We have never exercised any control over him, nor do I see a reason to now, Tanar asserted in a stern tone. Taylor, don't worry about that now, Trisha said. She tried to imagine what it was like for Taylor, but could not fathom it at all. You're right. I don't even know what to think. I need some time, Taylor replied. His head sank into his hands, and he began to sob. Trisha laid an arm around him, and his mother walked over and kneeled in front of him. I promise you I will never leave you again, his mother said, and hugged him. Taylor continued to sob. The strong, level-headed Taylor was gone. With Trisha and his mother by his side, he broke down completely, his thoughts running wild. It will be okay, he heard Trisha say as if she was off in the distance. Others talked to him as well, but he blocked it all out, swimming in his own thoughts. They broke up for a bit to give Taylor some time. He sat with Trisha, quietly talking. Thorane sat quietly with his own thoughts. He anguished for Taylor. He wished he could offer some comfort. Thorane had had a hard time seeing Taylor mad at his parents. They had been torn apart when they put the plan into motion. Taylor's parents certainly had not forgotten their son. However, on the other hand, Thorane could see where Taylor was coming from as well. Thorane felt as if he was caught in the middle of the whole thing, and had many sleepless nights thinking about the choice they had made. Taylor was still reeling. They hung out in the apartment for a while. Taylor had regained some of his composure, but still was not himself in any manner. He, however, did want to stretch his legs and get away from all his own pictures on the wall. Looking around the living space, he saw pieces of his life all over the walls. They decided to walk through the city. Taylor followed in the back as they passed different attractions in the city. He was not interested in any of the amazing sights his mother and father showed them, although he listened with half an ear while Tanar explained the history of the city. Taylor still hanging in the back of the group when they walked through a large common area. Other vampires looked at him and nodded and smiled. They all knew who he was, and Taylor now knew why. He knew why he was more powerful than the average vampire. A big part of him wished he would have never found out, as the truth burned a hole in his heart. Taylor was lost in his own world of thoughts until they came to the library. They walked up to two large wooden doors. Taylor's father opened the dark double doors to reveal the largest collection of written work that Taylor had ever seen. Walls were stacked with books from all times, books that held knowledge never known by humans or lost in the passing of time. The temptation proved too much for Taylor. In that great room he saw comfort, understanding, and most importantly, time. He gave Trisha a kiss on the cheek and walked into the double doors and closed them behind him, locking the door. "What is he doing?" Tanara asked. "Reading," Trisha said. "He was always a big reader," his mother said. She sounded as tortured by the series of events as Taylor had been. Tanara laid a comforting hand on her shoulder. "He will come out," Trisha said. "Give him time." "Trisha is right. He will come out when he's ready," Thrain added. "Well, how many books could he read after all?" Tanar said. "All of them," Thrain and Trisha said in unison. "And he will get all the time he needs. Let everyone know that the library is not to be disturbed until my son comes out on his own accord," Tanar said. They returned to their tour of the city and then to the apartment where they would wait for Taylor's return.